Precigen shares have been up massively, what with the big date coming up, the PDUFA date of the 27th of August. We can see that the share price has been up 18.55% over the last month. And then when I shift to the 6-month chart, you can see how volatile the share price is. And this is the nature of the beast with biotech investing. You know, when we're dipping our toe into this kind of investing, you have to have the stomach or the mental fortitude to withstand these extreme swings, so the extreme lows and then obviously the extreme highs. And we can see that the optimism has come back over the last 5 days with an increase of around 9%. And so this optimism can very much be attributed to Vinay Prasad's departure from the FDA following a number of controversies which I documented in some previous videos as well. It was in part because Prasad's decision to reject Capricor's deramiocel treatment and issuing it with a complete response letter. And on top of that, there was also this situation around how he handled the situation with Erupts Therapeutics as well. And these actions taken under Vinay Prasad's leadership raised concerns that he was anti-patient choice. And so this went in direct conflict with Donald Trump's overall ethos. You know, he was very much in favor of giving patients a lot more choice. And certainly with patients who are suffering from life-threatening diseases or illnesses, to allow them to try, you know, potentially experimental treatments if there was no other option for them. And with that, there is this bullish sentiment. You know, like I mentioned, there's this PDUFA date coming up, and there's a lot of excitement with investors, including myself, around this date. You know, certainly for me, it's been 1.5 years since I was starting to invest in Precigen and build up quite a holding. And so this is kind of almost like the critical date. And it all comes down to this treatment, PRGN-2012, and the expected increase in share price that shareholders are expecting should the treatment get approved. And in the meantime, Precigen leadership are extremely bullish about this date and the potential approval of this treatment. And they've been working behind the scenes around commercialization and the strategy around how they get the treatment out there once and if it is approved. Phil Tennant was appointed last year to spearhead the first potential gene therapy launch. Effectively, he's been brought in to drive Precigen's commercial strategy and operations to support the first potential commercial launch for the company's lead asset, PRGN-2012. And his background is absolutely solid. Like I said, he was specifically brought in and around last year for this commercialization strategy for PRGN-2012. And he's worked with some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies out there. He worked as Senior Vice President, Global Head of Oncology Marketing and VP Brand General Manager at Asteas Pharma. At Bristol Myers Squibb, he was Head of Hematology Marketing and Head of Commercial Strategy and Operations. He's had various commercial and marketing roles at AstraZeneca and had 7 years in sales and marketing roles at Merck as well. And so as we gear up in anticipation and excitement for potential approval and the stock price rising significantly as a result of the approval, Precigen have selected EVERSANA, a leading provider of commercialization services to the global life sciences industry, to support launch strategy and commercialization of PRGN-2012 in the United States. And under Phil Tennant, Precigen and EVERSANA are developing a targeted go-to-market strategy for PRGN-2012 in preparation for the potential approval in August. As part of this strategy, the company is deploying the first wave of field teams in support of launch readiness preparation. And so under Phil Tennant's leadership, they've already been deploying these field teams, so it's effectively like they're waiting to hit the ground running. They're waiting for the approval to come so they can hit the ground running immediately after the approval with their teams ready on the ground. And so if PRGN-2012 is approved, it could be a major catalyst for Precigen's stock price, likely driving a significant price surge as investors price in the first ever commercial gene therapy launch for the company. And so this is a big milestone for Precigen on their technology side as well. Effectively, an approval by the FDA also certifies the technology developments that they've been making behind the scenes too. It will likely boost investor confidence and will likely see an in-swing of institutional investment as well in this stock. Not to mention possible acquisitions as well. And this obviously is where Randal Kirk comes into play as well. You know, Randal Kirk, as I've said many times, he is the majority shareholder of Precigen. He has built his career and his fortune, his $1.5 billion fortune that you can see right here, off the back of building out pharmaceuticals companies from scratch and then selling them on. Again, I've made a number of videos and go into a lot more detail about that. And then what he does is he sells his pharmaceutical company onto another one, pockets the money, and then rinse, recycle, repeats this same kind of process. And again, like I said, this is how he's built his whole career. One thing to know with regards to the acquisition rumours or conversation is that Merck KG hold a 6.99% stake in Precigen. And so on one hand, as much as no one can really know when this acquisition might happen, if this acquisition may happen, at the same time, you know, looking at this stake that Merck have, and it's important to note that this is Merck KG, the German-based pharmaceutical company, not the US one, but they potentially put themselves in pole position simply because they have this 6.99% stake. And does that mean that they put themselves at the front of the queue? Certainly they're one of the pharmaceutical companies that people have been speaking about, or that is circulated in conversation. I have also heard Gilead as well. But like I said, you know, there are a lot of unknowns. You know, there's very high likelihood that Kirk will sell up because he's done this before, but no one knows when and no one knows who. And so those are kind of two critical question marks around this stock. But fundamentally, it all comes down to this critical date of August the 27th, the big PDUFA date, as you can see. And this is where I can't really underline how big this opportunity, and a lot of you will well know that because you're holding Precigen, and like me, you've been waiting for this time. This is a game changer for the company and presents massive upside for all investors. Thanks for watching, best of luck with your investments, and see you in the next one. Take care.